All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Call It Anything podcast. I am Jack, joined by my guest,
Mr. Solis.
All right, sir, we are back here today. As we mentioned in the last one, we would be here after a short time because WWE is doing Bash at Berlin or Bash in Berlin.
Yes, sir.
But always, even when there's only such a short time in between our recording sessions, I always gotta ask, sir, how are you doing?
I'm doing swell, sir. It's September, 4 months left of the year. Just a little over 3 until we start thinking about our top matches of the year.
Yeah.
But I've given myself 4 months to lose 25 pounds.
Nice.
That's the goal.
I'll check it right here because as Mr. Solis and I said, we expect it to be a short episode. So for the fans, I'll put some time in between to double check this right now. And again, like I always say during these summer episodes, excuse any noise you hear in the background. But what I'm double checking is because this has sort of been a thing documented is both our journeys on this podcast is your journey and also my journey with the walking albums. I'm double checking. I believe. Let's see. When would that be?
What are you looking for?
Let's see. Hold on. September 20th will be, I believe, if I'm doing the math correctly, when I reach, in terms of days, not in terms of the time, but in terms of total days, the 365 mark of walking an album a day.
Wow.
So the listeners
it's on the horizon.
Yeah, so the listeners know we reached the year mark back in May, and I mentioned that, but this is in terms of total days because remember, I don't do the weekend, so in terms of total days, meaning a full year of actual walking, in terms of the days, it will be September 20th, I believe, is if I'm doing the math correctly.
Well, that's super cool.
Yeah. I don't know if I might do a post for that. I don't know if it will be a video on Triple Crown or just on my own Instagram, but I figure I should do something to commemorate this journey because that's a full year of walking.
Nice. And I love bringing up my own journey to you because you are good about asking me and holding me accountable of the goal that I set.
Yeah.
I to maintain over the summer the 30 pounds I lost in the first 6 months of the year, but it's been a real slow 2 months since the summer started. Yeah. All I've been able to do is more or less maintain.
Yeah, I when I started my journey of walking, but also even before, like especially during the pandemic, whenever I would work out on my own time, and now I was always a bit more lenient with myself during the summer months because I knew it's not really an excuse. It's just it's much harder to do a lot of this stuff in this heat.
Oh goodness, and it's not getting any cooler. That's what I hear.
Yeah. I know we're planning to go to Disney for Marco's birthday. That's in the plans, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty hot that day.
When's his birthday?
The 6th, this Friday.
Oh, wow. Good to know.
Yeah. But getting right into things, Bash at Berlin, or Bash, I keep calling it Bash at Berlin, but it's Bash in Berlin.
It rhymes.
Yeah. In Germany, of course, Berlin, Germany. Short card as we've become accustomed to with the WWE now, more so like the takeover days. And I will say that is something I find kind of funny when I see the discourse online is that, so many people, I especially remember back in the day, seeing a lot of people saying they wish the main roster would adapt the takeover style. And now people don't like the takeover style, which I see, the reasonings on both sides. Like people don't like it because less people are getting on the card, less, especially when it comes to title, like the tag titles, they're not getting defended as often on these pay-per-view cards due to the about 5-6 match cards that we get. But as you always mention, that gives them more incentive to stack up the Raw and SmackDown shows before.
And like, for example, this Friday, which was in Berlin, Ludwig Kaiser got a U.S. title shot against LA Knight. He got a big reaction. And Nia Jax defended her women's championship, I think, in the main event of Friday. That wouldn't have been the main event of Bash in Berlin. But, like, Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six's debut was the main event of Raw. It made a big deal. Otherwise, it had gotten lost in the shuffle pre-show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like it. I wish I had got opportunities to see, like, the Raw, the Intercontinental Championship qualifiers that were on Raw. Like, I really feel like I missed out on those. But
yeah,
good to you if you've got a cable subscription and you tuned in.
Yeah, I mean, that's why that will always be, like, my biggest, like, pushback for these, like, 5-6 card shows is that, like, they end up on the weekly shows, which, it's not bad to stack your weekly shows, but as a watcher, it, especially because of the way the WWE is, you get a lot of commercials in between that interrupt, and WWE, they don't upload the full matches for you to see. There's not ways to really watch the full matches without interruptions, like, at least AEW, they have the picture-in-picture, plus they're, like the way they show it to foreign countries through, I think it's, like, Fight TV, like, they don't get the ads. So it's like people will then take the footage they get there and upload the full match for you to see. Like, I was telling my dad about this, and I was like, I kind of wish there was something similar, but WWE, a lot of times, it's like, you get the commercial break, so you don't really get a full match, That would be my only reasoning for wanting some of these matches on the full cards. But at the same time, again, if you put more matches on the card, usually means less time for all the matches combined.
Something else that used to happen more often, Jack, that I've thought about, especially since we've gone to events that are live, is there used to be matches that happen after the taping ended or before the taping starts that are unique experiences for the people live, right? Mm-hmm. And I wish that happened more often. Nowadays, I think, like, from the second the show starts to the minute it ends, if it's not for the PLE itself, it's for main event, it's for, speed, right? Like, I wish they did more non-canonical, extra bonus, thanks for coming matches. But the reality is those folks that showed up in Berlin, they were there for like 4 hours and saw 5 matches and sat quietly in the commercial break times in between. My dad watched with me this event, and I told him, like, this is fewer matches than, there used to be. And he goes, that's great. That means it's a shorter show. I went, it's not. It's definitely not a shorter show. We're in here for 4 hours, and they make it work somehow.
Yeah. But getting right into the thick of things, we start off the show with Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship, the Undisputed Championship. Starting off hot with a big, interesting matchup here.
Yeah, and this told me right away that Gunther and his title defense was going to be last. So it makes sense, like chamber matches, Rumble shows, right? We're going to bookend this event with our heaviest hitters and our biggest titles.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on this one, sir?
I came in, I think I told you last recording, Jack, that whether it was Kevin Owens or Randy Orton in the main event, I wanted one of these titles to change. And I really have been excited about the way Kevin Owens has held himself in this particular story. He was given this opportunity by Cody Rhodes, doesn't think he deserves it. Is he beating himself up? Is it self-doubt? Or, is he right? Is he a Drew McIntyre level character that's like, that watches the shows, that insists on continuity? He says he doesn't have a winning record, right?
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, I thought that was a really exciting approach to coming into this match. How about you?
Yeah, I was very interested, especially because, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, hey, Kevin Owens is kind of a Triple H guy, If a title change were to happen, I could, like, especially if it's one of the world titles, I could see Cody dropping it here,
Mm-hmm.
Especially because, it's not to say that you want to, flip-flop with the title and, pass it around, but, like, it would be interesting to see, like, on one of these shows that isn't one of the big four, like, a title change. And even then, I mean, how many times have we seen a title change at the other big four pay-per-views that's not WrestleMania or SummerSlam at this point,
Yeah, I saw this Instagram post, Jack, that like reflected on for multiple titles the last four champions. I gotta send it to you. But the one title that's abided my lust for change, right, and unpredictability is actually the NXT title. Earlier
Mm,
this year, earlier this calendar year, Jack, Carmelo Hayes was the NXT champion,
that is right.
which became Ilya Dragunov, which became or if he wasn't the champion, he's the fourth most recent champion. Then it was Ilya, then it was Trick, then it was Ethan Page, all within the span of like the last 6 months.
Yeah.
It's interesting to reflect on. But what'd you think of the match?
I thought it was pretty good for the most part. I did like I did like how things sort of like heated up a bit, where like they tried to start off respectable, but then like as time went on, like they were just kind of like amping it up more and more.
Yeah, yeah. It was a slow start, but things picked up, and I appreciate it. So Kevin Owens on Friday made reference to Cody coming in maybe with a bum knee, right?
Yeah.
And the commentary reminded us of that and said that Kevin Owens was going out of his way not to target the knee, but actually everything he was hitting him with was going after his ribs.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And they made that a point of the story, to have KO constantly go out of his way to not target that knee, really hesitate on targeting that knee. And, I saw a lot of people frustrated with it. I think
Yeah,
even like,
I wasn't online, but I was frustrated.
yeah. And, I kind of understood it, but at the same time, I kind of liked it because it kind of showed that, like, Owens really wanting to go against like his past in a sense, of like they brought it up that he's always turning on his people, so it was like it really came off as like him really trying to fight those like urges to revert back to his past self, to just add another person to the storybook of many people Kevin Owens has turned on.
Yeah,
But I do agree that at times it did make him look a bit like ridiculous at times, where like it was like he would hit one move, but then he like wouldn't want to target the knee, and it's like you're doing all these other moves that are inflicting damage, but you won't do it on this particular part of the body.
he brought up an interesting point on SmackDown, which I'm not going to be able to watch anymore in 2 weeks because it's moving to USA. And that was that his only title in WWE, non NXT, is a Universal title, which he reminded us all he won after Triple H interfered. That it hangs over him like a dark cloud. This, like, he didn't win it without that assist from Triple H. So he kind of equated the knee and that approach to Triple H's interference, which is hard to refute. And I'm like, I hate how. So Jack, I'm like the people you saw online, frustrated with his lack of desire to win this a certain way. And I caught myself thinking, well, if he reverts back to the way he's done, right? What kind of character development does that demonstrate in a guy that's been on TV for like 10 years? So the more and more he shows, a want to do things differently, I think, is this character growth? Is this character development? Is he
Yeah,
truly? I was like, oh, he's got gray in his hair. He's mature. Dang.
yeah, especially because then the narrative can spin that like Cody wasn't healthy, so that's why he was able to win.
Right.
Um,
A good spots at the outside, right? He has the opportunity to hit a power bomb on the apron, and he doesn't. And Barrett is yelling at him from commentary, and he hears him. So Kevin Owens turns to Barrett and goes, "Shut up!" And I love like his recognizing he can hear Barrett yelling at him.
Yeah, I've liked that sort of change too, like the recognition of these like other like characters in the realm of wrestling.
Yeah.
I really think back to one of the English classes I took when we were talking about drama, and he
Hmm.
was talking, and the professor was teaching us about like I forget the exact phrase, but basically talking about like how the stage has its like limitations,
Mm.
and like there's certain things that like you like basically saying that the actors are confined to that, and I like that they're acknowledging these other pieces that are technically part of that stage. So
Mm.
I like those little moments where, like you said, Kevin Owens will acknowledge that the commentators there, what they like. I know I've noticed they do it more in NXT, just like AEW, and that's that the refs sort of have like character to them, to the point where it's like the wrestlers will interact with them more, and you'll hear like more pushback from the ref, or you'll get more out of them, like you'll hear more like maybe reasoning from them, like as to why
Yeah.
perhaps they didn't count as fast, why they didn't catch this. So I like those little elements coming into play nowadays.
I agree. I can't think of the last time I heard that, but I feel like I just heard it. Somebody referencing, oh, you know what? It was NXT, I think, No Mercy. And there's definitely opportunities, I'm sure, throughout the night where I heard the commentary say that the ref is letting this go because we need to know who's going to win. Like, this can't end in a DQ. We've got to have a definitive winner for this match. And I think that's changing. I was telling my dad that Triple H, I think, is the guy that likes for the referees to have names
Yeah.
and authority. And they reference it later. I'll bring it up in another match on Bash at Berlin.
Yeah. But, Cody's able to pull this off for the win, retains his
I heard
title.
this. I heard this great observation on YouTube, Jack. He needs a new finisher. If he takes 3 to finish so many people off, it's not a good finisher.
Yeah.
And you're like, he needs a new finisher. Kevin Owens was going for the Swanton Bomb again, targeting the ribs. It was to his detriment because he took a back of knees, right?
Yeah.
All right. He took knees to the back. And I was frustrated he didn't try to go for the pop-up powerbomb. He beat Grayson Waller recently with a pop-up powerbomb as a sign that he was reverting back to his old ways. And I go, listen, man, I think we can obey the rules and be respectful and be friends and hit the pop-up powerbomb.
Yeah, I think,
That
that
doesn't
one's...
even target the knee.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's like the pop-up powerbomb doesn't do like too much damage, in the sense of like you got to worry about the guy after you hit it.
So
I could understand if he was more worried, if he was playing around about bringing back like the package power driver that he used to do. Like I could understand there, like being like,
Yes.
I don't want to hit that, but it's like the pop-up powerbomb.
But I sighed a breath of exasperation knowing that one of my favorite current wrestlers is mature.
And not only that, the inevitable side that that Solo Sikoa is likely getting another match against Cody after SummerSlam, because he said he had next, and you're just like, and it's funny because at the end of that episode, because the whole Roman ordeal, I literally told you that my dad said, "Oh, I'm just glad Cody's going to be getting away from the bloodline and Solo Sikoa," and here he is likely going back into that.
Wah, wah, wah. Well, between now and Bad Blood, SmackDown moves to USA, and let's just see. Let's just see what they do.
I hope they do it as a SmackDown thing and free him up for Bad Blood. If he is free for Bad Blood, sir, who do you think he faces, or who do you want him to face?
Solo or Cody?
Cody.
Oh, he's got to fight. What's his name? Metro Boom, because they've been sitting out that arena in the promos for Bad Blood. I don't know what they're doing, but it's building up for a match between Metro Boom and Cody, right? No, I'm just kidding. Cody and who else? Who else has had a strong summer? Poised for a singles title. Gosh, SmackDown is. I don't know why SmackDown's so sparse in my mind.
Yeah, I literally pulled up the roster right now to see what name stands out to me, especially because the one thing I'm trying to think in my mind is I don't really want a filler defense as much right now from Cody. I want something that's going to be competitive, that can be unpredictable.
Yeah,
and it's kind of tough looking at this roster. The only thing I can think of is I don't know, do you do the story? But then it's like Randy just got a title shot, but it's there's their story. and there's enough time where Randy can turn on Cody to be the heel in that matchup. But yeah,
As
looking
someone,
looking at the roster, there's not that much, if I'm being honest. At least on the SmackDown side.
goodness gracious. Um, yeah, that's unfortunate.
How about SmackDown borrows Bronson Reed for a night?
As soon as he recovers,
Yeah,
as soon as he tests negative.
yeah. Let SmackDown borrow him for a bit. You can have the story that Adam Pearce banished him from Raw because he was too
Yes,
afraid of him.
excellent.
But moving forward with Bash in Berlin, we got the women's tag titles on the line now. We got Alba Fire and Isla Dawn defending against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. What were your thoughts about this, sir?
Um, it was good. I wasn't particularly looking forward to this match, but it's had a lot of build. You know, I don't know if we mentioned this last time. I think we did because I think we were going into Triple H or WWE's, you know, inability to book a strong tag division. So like I'm thinking of the promo package where Alba Fire says, "We have all the power." You're like, you don't even have airtime, bro.
Yeah, my dad really enjoyed this match. I enjoyed it too, but like the entire time that I'm just watching, I'm just like, man, these tag titles don't really work because you're just going between some of the same teams over and over. And it's kind of like the trios division over in AEW, where it's like having
Yes.
this division is just taking away from the other divisions, where it's like a lot more of these women could be helping beef up your singles divisions for both women's titles. It could go into a mid card division for, especially because when you look at a lot of some of the women, it's like, are they capable? Yes, but are we believing that WWE is going to elevate them to that world title level? It's like, well, no. So why not give them a mid card, title at least to fight over? And some people always say, well, just use the women's tag title, but it's like they've kind of proven since their existence that they don't know how to utilize them the best.
Alba Fire and Isla Dawn were originally single competitors who were made into a tag team.
Yeah,
They didn't enter together. You know what I mean? Like that was a makeshift team that has, surpassed expectations. I think.
Jade and Bianca are pretty much a thrown together tag team.
Yeah, and just like Kevin Owens, I think a lot of people were wondering if tonight something was going to happen. I
Yeah,
think I've heard that Triple H's booking is characterized by the longevity of a story. So if you thought something was going to happen Saturday, you were better off thinking, it's too soon.
yeah. I mean, my dad was thinking, that like maybe something starts between Bianca and Jade.
Yeah,
I will say, while I appreciate, long form story booking and all that in wrestling, sometimes you got to strike when the iron's hot. Mr. Solis is always talking about, changing titles, and the one thing I also want to bring up is what he was pointing out a lot in the All In review, and that was the whole thing about moments. I
mm-hmm.
think if you asked Triple H what his time in the WWE was defined by, it's like, yeah, they had a lot of long form story moments, but a lot of those times dang, I just lost the word. You know, uh, it was known for its moments.
Yes.
And that's like something that I think all of the wrestling world is really lacking right now, is like the moments. Like they're too busy trying to manufacture and build up their own moments that they want to get to, that they want to have them feel bigger than life. But it's like those moments that we think back to, it's like, yeah, a lot of them were built up to, but a lot of them were like spontaneous.
Yeah, an example from the last match I can think of right away, right? It's a couple of days removed. There's a lot of these shows that we don't remember, but I'll tell you what I do. Cody goes for the Cody Cutter. He runs to the top turnbuckle, but stops because his ankle's all jacked up, right? He
Yeah.
comes down, and you see Kevin Owens look at him, and you see Kevin Owens brace himself, and you see him look like he's going to kick him in the knee, and then he does it. And the crowd reacted. The crowd reacted to like Owens' face and Owens' posture and the fact he didn't do what we all thought he was going to do. And that's a moment, Jack. And it was great. I love like that people were like, ooh.
Yeah, or like recently, yesterday on Raw when Drew broke the bracelet of Punk, got quite a reaction there. It's like,
yes,
and like I'm thinking like throughout, and like I said, it's like they're trying to focus on building things up, really getting to that point, but it's like, I don't know, I can think of so many moments in the past couple of years of wrestling where I'm like, maybe it would have been a bit better if you pulled the trigger a little sooner,
Hey, so this match, the Women's Tag Team Championship match, is like a good old tried and true tag team match that builds to the hot tag, right? Bianca is taking all of the damage. And I think, the Berlin crowd, the folks watching at home, they kind of get built up to wait patiently for that tag to Jade.
Yeah. And, I liked a lot of what they did here, like I said, but I don't know, it's kind of hard to invest in this tag division,
100%. The big spot here that leads to the finish, they've got Bianca all tied up in, is it Isla Dawn's knees? Alba Fire is going to jump, or does Isla Dawn jump? One of them's going to hit a senton on a prone Bianca Belair who's draped across the other's knees.
I think it was
Jade.
Alba Fire.
Okay. Jade is going to pull Bianca to safety, though. And then Alba Fire eats a bunch of knees. Yeah. I was like, gosh, that's a really good spot to trust Jade with, given, she's green. She's learning. Watch the replay, Jack. I'm pretty sure Bianca pretty much pulled herself out of the way. But it looked good.
Yeah, I will say that's a thing I noticed, especially was the camera work. Glad they're getting it a bit better. I'm always like very critical of the camera work because it's like so essential to making sure things look right and work in wrestling. Like I've always been vocal that I don't like swerve stomp because the camera is never angled right to really like make you think it actually hits.
Did you watch NXT No Mercy, Jack?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see Wesley's foot stomp from the top rope?
Yeah.
We could have shot that from a different angle.
Yeah. Anyone who hits like that foot stomp, especially I think the worst case I saw was I don't think it was Swerve himself, but it was like maybe either AEW or one of their like affiliate pages that does like the camera work. They like posted a clip of him hitting it, and they did it in slow-mo, and I was like, that's the worst thing you can do because you clearly see him just like at the very last second split the legs, and it's like I always think back especially to like when him and Keith Lee won the tag titles, and it's like clearly didn't land on Ricky Starks, and I'm just like, you got the house call, you have the JML driver, I think those look a lot better. I understand the swerve stomp's easy to hit on everyone.
Yeah, when it comes to the way Finn does it, he's got both feet up against each other. He got feet right on top of the chest. But I think what he does is he literally maybe just throws his body weight. Like, as soon as he makes contact, I think he maybe, like, just shifts his body weight so that, it's not weight coming down on the chest.
Yeah. But...
Fascinating.
But enough about the other stuff of wrestling. Bianca and Jade win the tag titles back here. Gonna be interesting to see where they go from here. Gonna be interesting to see what the story goes from here.
I think there was a number one contenders match at Raw.
I think so. I think it was between probably like Io and Kyrie and someone else. Probably Sonya and them.
Because I heard Kyrie, I don't know, that she took a nasty fall, I think. I think she busted her open.
Yeah, I saw she like hit the edge of the announce table, I believe it was.
Deep.
Yeah. And I don't know, it was real awkward. You saw, I think it was like Alba Fire pull Bianca, but like it was almost like she pulled her out of the spot because then Kyrie just went like sailing over Bianca and hit her face.
Yeep.
Yeah. But you mentioned the whole long-term storytelling thing with Triple H. This is probably going to last until we start building towards Mania season.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to our next match, we have the strap match between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
They've been feuding since January, but this will only be their second one-on-one encounter.
Yeah, talk about a true testament to the whole long-term storytelling.
Well, Punk was injured for like 90% of that storytelling.
Yeah. Sir, I have to ask before we get into this, what were you expecting with the stipulation before the match happened? And then what were your immediate thoughts when you saw what version of the stipulation was going to be happening?
You're referring, Jack, to the fact that this is a strap match, so I anticipated them both tied at the wrists to a long leather strap that would have that would be between them, that they would use as a weapon. And now then you're also referring to once they started, the revelation that at the corner at each corner of the ring there were two lights, and I saw them lights, Jack, and I recognized them lights, and I went, hold up. And I think it's the case that sometimes we've had strap matches that don't have these lights, where the only objective is a pinfall submission. Ricky Starks versus Bryan Danielson recently happened in the last year. But this...
Going back in WWE's time, Royal Rumble 2020, The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan strap match, no lights on the corners.
Yeah, the last time I seen these lights, I think it was JBL versus Eddie Guerrero.
I think.
And that might have been like a bull rope match. All that to say, I was very surprised by the lights. And then Drew hits a light first, and like I don't know why I don't see the light. It takes, I think, Michael Cole to tell me that there's two lights, green and red. One represents Drew, red, because he's mean, and one is CM Punk, green. They have to hit all four corners without interruption, or else the lights reset.
Yeah.
Two things hit me, Jack, right away at the revelation of what was going on. One, I thought, oh, this is a real good way of Punk winning without pinning Drew. Like, this is a nice way of getting there if that's where we're going. And two, I think in the promo package, I realized, oh, we're in a strap match because this is about that bracelet, because he characterized the strap as a bracelet, a special bracelet made especially for you, Drew. Wham! And I'm like, okay, I like that. That isn't as random as this all felt a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I have to say, I was a bit disappointed to see those lights on in the corner, because I was like, okay, we're after talking at SummerSlam about some things feeling overcomplicated, we're now complicating this further by having the stipulation of having to drag your opponent to touch the four corners, not having to be interrupted. If you get interrupted, you got to start over. But like you, I had similar like revelations of like, yeah, this is their way where, Punk doesn't have to pin Drew. They can hold that off, for bad blood, more than likely is where they're heading with this.
Yeah.
The other revelation, which I hope people don't take offenses, but after, as you mentioned earlier, being injured for a majority of this, a part of me was like, I wonder if they're doing this version of the strap match to really protect and like hide some of Punk's, I wouldn't say like flaws, but like really, protect them injury-wise and, sort of mask certain, abilities that he might not have to his full strength for a regular strap match,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I was a bit disappointed, but I was just like, you got to enjoy whatever's happening. You got to see the story through, which is my biggest thing with this rivalry, is like really seeing how this story plays out,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we see that bracelet. Like, the bracelet just remains the focal point of it all. And I do like the perspective that some people have taken, where it's like it's giving them, whereas others are fighting for like a championship, and it gives them something to fight for. Like this is like a focal point of the rivalry to really give themselves something to fight for, other than like just pure anger and like pride in a sense. It's like, I'm fighting you to regain this back. I'm fighting you to keep holding this like over your head. Like this symbol of your life.
Yeah, and I liked how the match started. Unlike Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, it was super slow. This match started super fast. You know what I mean? Like they were really going at it, and I was really I really paid attention to whether or not they would go for the corners, and they don't. And I was really grateful for that, because the real story here is that they want to kill each other. So they were really going after each other, and it doesn't until mid match where Drew is the first to start tapping corners, maybe in a sense of kind of realize, because I think in that first half, CM Punk kind of keeps up with him for more than maybe he and I anticipated. So maybe he goes, okay, let's just end this now, right? And that's when we start trying to do the corner bits.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I was disappointed in the corner bits, because again, it's this is a heated rivalry, it reminds me of when they would book cage matches, but they have the added stipulation that you can escape to win. It's if it's such a heated rivalry, why would you want to escape the person you're fighting? So that like I was saying, it's a thing where it's you feel like it might get in the way, but at the same time, I like how you're mentioning, that for Drew, it could have gotten to a point where it's it's not him hitting these corners to really escape, but it's him wanting to end things as soon as possible, especially because after beating him at SummerSlam, if he wraps things up quickly here, what a definitive statement that is. It's, hey, I beat you at SummerSlam, and I beat you in quick fashion in this strap match.
I just reminded myself that the match starts even hotter than I remember, because Drew's beating up Punk outside before they're even tied up.
Yeah.
He put the strap on his wrist, and the and forces the referee to start the match. Again, like you said, right? Kind of, interacting with the space that we take for granted. He guy is staring a hole into that referee, and the referee can't do anything but just start the match. And he would never do that if he had a choice, because Punk's on the ground. But he goes, ring the bell. And it was that was good. I love that.
Yeah.
Another spot that this manifested, which I'm grateful for, is because CM Punk said, say it with me now, he's a great big nerd. You see, McIntyre's got him on his shoulders. He's gonna hit all them corners, but that rascally CM Punk's hitting the corners behind him.
Yeah, I like that bit.
Did that remind you of anything or anybody, sir?
What happened?
Did that remind you of anything or anybody?
Not that I can think off the top of my head.
That was a very Eddie Guerrero move. Mm-hmm. I don't think he did that exactly, but that really rascally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, behind his back. Very, very almost cartoonish,
Very cartoonish. That's so Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah. I will say the spot that made me laugh, because, I mentioned to you about the whole, maybe they're doing this version of the stipulation to really, mask, shadow some of, Punk's, abilities that, especially trying to protect him from injury. The table spot was probably one of the safest and slowest spots I've seen, where, it's still impactful because it's dropping Punk from inside the ring to the outside through a table, but it's the fact Drew did it so slowly and gracefully that it minimizes, because you got to protect Punk at this point. So it's he's you're not getting injured on me at this point. I'm just going to slowly drop you over.
I know exactly what you mean, Jack. It was a table spot for a table spot's sake.
Yeah, and the funniest thing I saw was someone was talking about man, I wonder why that was so slow. And someone cracked the joke saying, Punk showed Drew the Ryback video that of him going on the podcast and ranting about Ryback, and he was showing him that clip and was yeah, don't do that.
Ryback catching strays on this episode of the podcast.
Oh man. But the finish of the match, I think there was a steel chair involved. I think I can't remember. I know they used this. No, not in the finish. I know they used it earlier. That's what I was thinking of.
There's a steel chair put in the corner that Drew ultimate like he hoisted by his own petard. He is chucked into the corner. He gets a shoulder full of steel chair that he put there at some point.
Yeah, and then we see Punk put the sharpshooter in, and
yes, he does.
I think the surprising part was seeing Drew tap.
Yeah, you know he's a big smelly heel, and he can tap all he wants, but that doesn't end this match. So you know, I think he'd have more reservations about tapping if it was a real match.
Yeah, but that happens, and then Punk. I forget if he hits 2 or not. Does he hit 2 go to sleeps?
I think it's more than 2, but like maybe
they 3 in total. I think I forget.
Yeah, I think he hits 1. I think he hits 1 before the 3rd corner, and then he hits 1 before the 4th corner.
Yeah.
And in between the 3rd and the 4th corner, he's got to make a point to get back his bracelet, which he kisses. He puts on his wrist and he kisses, and I make the point of saying that because it was also made reference in YouTube. Where was that bracelet, Jack, before CM Punk got a hold of it?
Drew pulled it out of his tights.
He may have overlooked that detail, but it's the 4th corner and the win. And this is another match, Jack, where, like, I think in the spirit of, like, matches recently, we just sort of spammed our finisher.
Yeah.
Cody with all the crossroads and Punk with multiple GTSs. This is like everyone's being booked like Goldberg. Except they need to hit it multiple times.
Yeah, I find it funny that they think like it's like an exclamation point to hit your finisher multiple times, but like you said, it's like if you have to hit it multiple times, is it really that good?
You know, in this case, in the case of old man Punk coming off of, you know, a dozen injuries over the course of 3 years against in his prime Drew McIntyre, I like it. I like that this is what's needed, right?
Yeah.
But I think, Jack, that the SummerSlam match between these two was better than this outing.
Yeah, I think I might feel more inclined to say that. As much as I had my criticisms of the SummerSlam match, I don't know. I think the added stipulation is what docks it for me personally.
Yeah, I wondered if I would enjoy this one because of the lack of Seth Rollins, but ultimately, you know, I thought about them both, and I thought, because I'm thinking about my top 10 list there. I'm like, if one of these were to be on that list, I think the SummerSlam match.
Yeah. I'm still waiting for new additions to my list. I've been watching a bit of wrestling, and I'm just like itching for anything like new to be added, you know. There was a couple like at All In where I'm like maybe in the back half, you know. But like a lot of the stuff that I look at, I'm like, oh, I wonder like what I would put, and I'm looking, I'm just like, man, there's a lot of stuff from like the start of the year.
You know, that, and I'm sure you have reserved, right? With a sign, with a tape, with a stanchion and a velvet rope, you got a space reserved for Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry.
Oh, man.
Not Hangman Swerve 6. I'm talking about Danielson's first title defense.
It annoys me when I see people online, and it goes for both sides, but it just annoys me whenever I see people like trying to get you to like enjoy something that you clearly don't like, and it's like, leave me alone. I don't care. I don't care what you think of Jack Perry. I have my thoughts on Jack Perry, and so let me just be disappointed in my own time. I'm not ruining your fun. Don't ruin my fun.
I know what'll cheer Jack up, turn his frown upside down if we indulge in WWE's Jack Perry. Who do you think WWE's Jack Perry is?
I it's kind of tough for me to think. I mean, I don't want to sound. I don't want the roster to catch strays, but I could think of quite a few people.
Well, I'm talking about Dominic Mysterio.
Interesting.
You
You
love
might.
to hate him. He and Liv Morgan are going to have a mixed tag match against the Terror Twins, Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest.
I was very interested to see how this one would turn out.
Yeah.
Especially because
And
they've been teasing Rhea fighting against like other people for like sorry not other people but like fighting against the male competitors for so long. I was wondering if she was gonna get her hands on Dominic.
I explained to my dad that mixed tag implied that when a male wrestler is tagged in, the other male's got to come in. Vice versa. We can't have male on female violence. That would be an intergender match, which happens more often than you think in the independent circuit.
Yeah, I was about to say you see that a lot on the independents. They're not afraid of sponsors.
No, no, and they build their female wrestling talent to a point where their toughness, their fortitude, their strength, they can hold their own.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on this match, sir?
I was ready to have a good time, Jack. This is a story that they told all summer. Damian looks like he's in incredible shape. A fall from grace since the last PBLE, he was the world heavyweight champion. But whether it's Rhea or him, like I'm happy either one of them to get a hold of Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, that was the thing I was most interested in seeing. Is like you mentioned, Damian Priest's first show since losing that championship. I was interested to see what he was going to be like in this match, especially with the group that obviously costed him the title.
Yeah, and I like how Damian and Rhea still sort of aesthetically match. They gel together. I love Jack. We're telling a story of a male and female tandem that's not romantic. Like that's long overdue and a breath of fresh air.
Yeah,
Sense of third.
it makes me think about like especially like faction wise, like we
Yeah.
don't see that often. Like we don't see like intergender factions too much. I mean, we've seen a bit of them, but like it's usually like one of the women is attached onto the faction due to association with only like one of the wrestlers.
Yeah. You should watch NXT, Jack. I say that a lot. There's a ton of factions, and one of them just adopted a female wrestler against his wishes. Like he was like, I don't want you in this group, but they let her go in the group because of shenanigans. Not because anyone loves each other. It was good old fashioned shenanigans.
Any spots that stand out to you, sir, from this match?
Um, well, one in particular, but I don't want to jump the gun. Damian looks great. You know what I mean? Got to throw around Dominic. Rhea chucking Liv all around, and then Liv tagging Dominic, and Dominic just sort of like not jumping into the ring. Instead, Damian has to throw him in. This is good, Jack. This is like number 11 on her list. Like, I'll tell you what, Jack, like, I went in wanting to have a good time. I had a really good time. My dad watching, he's keeping up with everything. And he asks, which one of them has friends that are going to get involved? And I went, that one. That team over there, Jack.
Speaking about the whole, the whole stage and all the people involved, I like. I just remembered it now about like Michael Cole as a commentator. You mentioned Wade Barrett earlier, and now we see like Michael Cole where like he's showing clear bias towards one side, and like they're constantly like calling him out on it. And so like there's a part where like he gets super excited for Damian and Rhea, and he's like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be unbiased.
He hasn't hit that for months. I think even before Dominic turns on Rhea, he calls him dumb, like dumb.
And then we see a callback to like the start of their story with Rhea doing the head scissors to Dominic.
That's the spot, Jack. So I thought I wanted to see Rhea hit the Riptide on Dominic Mysterio. I did not realize what I also wanted to see was her recreating that chokehold, like that leg chokehold in the corner. That
Yeah.
was great. That was incredible.
Yeah, and then Rhea pins Liv for the victory.
I was surprised. We saw JD McDonough get involved. We saw Finn get involved, but it wasn't enough to stop the Terror Twins. I was pleasantly surprised. And I saw someone online just put it out there. Like, could we see Damian and Rhea win the tag team championships from Finn and JD? And just like you were saying, I think that would be a cool sort of feather for Rhea to put in her cap to be a a tag team champion.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about that too. I'm very interested to see if they do it. I doubt it, but it's interesting. And then
there was one thing about this segment that I have my feelings about. It's tiny, Jack. Ready for the pettiness? When Rhea comes out to the ring and then afterwards she's lip syncing her song, and it's cringe. I don't know. How do you feel about it? When she's like, eyes wide open, saying the lyrics to the song to the audience. How do you feel?
I didn't actually catch that part. I'd have to look at it, but I mean, it's a part of it. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels weird to think about wrestlers acknowledging their own theme. I mean, we have Cody doing the whoa. The
whoa, R-Truth's what's up.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to see it.
But she's literally word for word saying the lyrics to the song, and I'd rather she be sung out, not her. I don't know. I'm not convinced that's her singing. Yeah. It's like, you know what I equate it to? Because now she's full blown baby face. It's like Roman Reigns overdoing the ooh ah, like he 3 times in the space of 3 minutes. Too many times, my dude. But you're like this to be the thing that fans want to see or hear or be a part of.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish we would see more of that, but it's kind of difficult when Def Rebel's the one making your theme songs. So it's I saw people talk about it where they're just I don't know, they feel like a lot of people would get bigger pops. And I mean, some people might take the route of saying well, is it them getting the pop or is it the music that's getting the pop, Which I can understand, but I saw someone say, it's you feel like some of these people could get a lot bigger of a pop if they just had more recognizable theme music.
DIY.
Oh man, that's one of the worst Def Rebel examples.
I mean, the worst part about it, Jack, is their Rebel Heart song from before. The fact that it existed first makes this thing worse. You know what I mean? Just pay them. Just pay them. I don't know how much money you're paying Motionless in White, but come on now.
Yeah. But we move forward to our main event.
How refreshing. It's 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon. It's been a delightful 5 matches, Jack. I was thinking about All In this entire time, and I'm like, this has been an enjoyable watch.
We got Randy Orton challenging against Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Was very interested going into this one because we saw them for the King of the Ring. So, was very interested to see how they build upon that, what they do differently, What were your thoughts on this one, sir?
I really liked their King of the Ring match, so I really wanted to see how they'd make things different. The dynamic's different. Gunther's coming in with the championship, right? Randy Orton doesn't he's coming out first. The crowd's funny. They don't know every word to a song. They just know the most important words, right? But I think this was always going to be a Randy Orton match, right?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, especially because of their King of the Ring match. I was like, that's why I said, how are they going to do things differently, Because it's Randy. It's Randy in his 40s. It's Randy towards the twilight of his career, basically.
Yeah.
Is he just going to phone in the same performance, you know? Is he going to change things up? There were certainly some things different, you know? I felt Randy was a bit more willing to, like, take certain spots this time around, at least from what I can remember. You know, I think if the audience remembers, in our King of the Ring review, I literally said that I would have to go back and watch that match because I didn't remember a whole lot from it. You know?
I have it on my list to watch too because when it was all said and done, like it's funny. It happens in this match as well. At the end of the King of the Ring match, they're both pouring sweat, and I go, "Did they even do anything to warrant like how much sweat they were each like sweating?" Right? So I'm like, I gotta watch that again because blink and you miss it. I don't know what I missed. Right?
Yeah. The spots that like I was that I want to highlight as like Randy taking more was like a lot of the chops, you know. Like I think one of the most brutal ones. I think it might come towards like the end and like might be involved in the finish. I don't remember, but it was like the spot that stood out the most to my dad and I because of the visual effect was him Gunther chopping the back of like Orton's neck and back, and you literally see like all the sweat just splash.
Sweat.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And then there's
underrated.
Like, you know, a bunch of spots where like Gunther's just laying in those chops on Orton real hard.
Yeah, an underrated spot for me though at the beginning is I don't know what got into the Berlin crowd, but they start doing the wave, and they're both standing there, and I think they're both kind of like making sense of what to do, right? 'Cause the crowd's doing the wave. It's the main event. It's Gunther, and Randy does the wave. He does the wave, Jack, and the crowd stop waving. They applaud, they cheer, but like, golly, ring veteran. You got a general in there supposedly, but you got an absolute vet in there who stopped that whole crowd from doing that stupid thing. And all he had to do was go, whoa.
That throws me back to when Cesaro ran into the crowd to rip up the beach ball that they had brought in.
Classic.
There was something else from this match that I wanted to mention, but you know, being 4 days removed from it, I can't remember. I think it was the table spot. I can't remember.
We see Randy hit his classic like backdrop on the table.
Yeah. And then there was something else, but like you said, it was like I don't know what it is, but it was like blink and you miss, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was kind of like a somewhat like easy watch through, but like at the same time I'm struggling to remember some of the moments that I remembered.
A thought I had, I was excited to share with you, because this match is a little longer than the rest of them. Not because they did more, but honestly, Randy's moving kind of slow. I don't know if we're just drawing it out for drama's sake. I can think of him trying to pull the ring steps to the commentary table. It takes him a minute. It takes him so long, Jack. In my mind, I go, I wonder if Randy Orton translated in Japanese as Tetsuya Naito.
Oh, man. Funny enough, I had that thought about a couple of matches from this weekend where I was like watching, I was like, is it just me or are they moving kind of slow? Like the one that stands out to me was Wesley versus Zachary Wentz on the
I got the same thing.
They kind of like sped things up a certain part, but like there was like some spots where I was watching, I was like, are they like? Is it just me or are they like moving slower than like? And in my mind, I'm like, is it just because I'm used to them, you know, being such quick, fast paced guys, you know? And then like a part of me was like, remembering, like, well, Wesley did come back from that back injury that he had, I think it was. So I was like, maybe that's what's like been slowing him down. But I was like, but I didn't notice that being much of a thing in the old Bafemi match. And then there was and then I forgot, it was either a move he hit or it was like a move that he took. I forgot what it was. He did like some crazy move, and I was like, well, okay, then that can't be the excuse because he just hit that crazy move. So like I was confused by their pace. And then, like you said, a similar thing here with Orton. And there was one more match I can't remember, but I was like watching. I was like, is it just me or are they moving kind of slow here?
I 100% agree with you, Jack. And when I had that feeling, my thought went to Wentz because I thought maybe it's because he's coming from TNA. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
maybe he's like not ready for whatever the nuanced differences between the two styles of wrestling. Because I felt like in my I think I don't know if you do this too, but in wrestling, right? You watch something, they set something up, you kind of anticipate it happening, and if it doesn't, you're kind of like, oh. And I do that a lot with what's her name, Blake. She's on SmackDown. Um,
Blake.
British. She helped Isla Dawn and Alba Fire retain
Oh,
on SmackDown.
Blair Davenport.
Blair Davenport. Every time I watch her, I go, there's like this pause. It's a second, Jack, but it feels like an eternity where I go, I don't know why she didn't do that.
Yeah,
Fast.
I think one of the spots that stood out to me, I think like Wes was like doing like some kicks, and like they just looked so like slow and not really impactful. And I was like, what is going on here? And then like similar here with Warden, it was like I noticed he was taking some time, and I was just like, man, I don't want to be too critical because this business is a tough one, but you just look at that, and like you mentioned the Naito thing, and then funny enough, I saw it was like a couple weeks ago that like someone like showed that, or I think like Sammy himself posted that like him and Ivar were at like some type of like stem cell treatment, and like Rey Mysterio had mentioned that. So like I saw just a ton of people talking about that, and then I saw people like as soon as people saw that, all I saw was just floods of replies of different wrestlers talking about get them this stem cell treatment so that they can be rejuvenated. Like the two names on the other side of the pond that I saw were Hiroshi Tanahashi and Tetsuya Naito, saying, "Can we get them some new knees, please?"
Which body part was Randy Orton working on? I think it was the arm.
I believe so too.
Which I thought was smart. You got Gunther, you got his chops, and I was telling my dad, I said, Gunther, I said, my former student, Jack, he likes this about Gunther. I don't, but he doesn't exactly have a finisher, per se. I think he takes pride in how differently he can put people away, So we saw that in action here. I believe a sleeper was thwarted and turned into an RKO, the only one of the match.
Yeah.
He had a splash. I was quick to tell my dad that would have worked if he was bigger like he was.
Yeah. I forget how he finishes the match. So I think it's with a sleeper, right?
Yes, he had a couple of power bombs. I'm like, and now we're gonna go power bomb. Is that gonna be enough? Wasn't enough. And I was a little surprised that we won with the sleeper. I think I'm surprised because the ref just sort of does that thing that they do inconsistently, which is just call for the bell. I wish, Jack, we were consistent and we stuck to the 3-rule match.
Yeah, I will.
I mean, the 3-arm rule.
Yeah,
Lift his arm and drop it.
Yeah. I will say that's the most frustrating part about all wrestling companies is that like there's no continuity for like their different rules,
Yeah.
Like sometimes they do the check the hand and it has to drop 3 times. Sometimes they only do it once, and if it drops, they're like call for the bell. Other times they don't even check. They just look at you like, oh, you're down and out, ring for the bell. Don't even check, And it's the same thing as, as we mentioned, the stipulations. Sometimes the strap match has the things on the corner. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes doing this is a disqualification. Sometimes it isn't.
I think if they had checked Randy's arm 3 times, I think maybe the rationale is if he's passed out, it behooves you to get him out of that hold as quick as humanly possible, But this is professional wrestling. Check his arm 3 times, let it fall 3 times, and we'll all feel better about the bell ringing.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, you looked at him once, I looked at him once, he looks fine, and you rang for the bell.
Yeah. Gonna be real interesting to see, how that holds up. I anticipate the next time we see a choke out, especially in a Gunther match. I'm interested. I wonder if that's just the head canon here is they know Gunther is such a force that they're just like, we don't need a check. This man's got him choked out.
You know, nobody in the building was complaining. I frankly thought that this company was so heartless. The same company, by the way, Jack, that beat Drew McIntyre in Scotland, that they were going to beat Gunther in Germany, and that'd have been amazing if Randy Orton was just like, RKO, 1, 2, 3. Jack, I missed the late '90s of politicking.
Oh man,
the house is down, brother. The house hasn't been down in a while, Jack. They're very clear about those numbers in the post-show conference.
Yep.
What would you think of the match? And I think in a similar exercise, how do you think this compared to their King of the Ring outing?
I thought this one was pretty good as far as comparing it to the King of the Ring outing. They might be a bit even to me, but if I had to give the edge to one, I might have to give it to this one just because of the crowd, you know? I think that's, talking about the whole, different parts of a stage. The crowd is definitely a big influence,
Yeah.
I mean, the crowd is the reason why Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic was my number one match in 2020 and not Gunther versus Dragunov, which took place in front of no crowd.
This one, I mean, I look back at May and I feel like Randy was so much more in control. This one, he got pretty manhandled. So if I show any bias, it's I think with that in mind.
But that closes the show for us. Gunther's first defense in the title books.
And I thought a very strong show, sir. I think it's one of the stronger PLEs in a while.
Yeah, a pretty consistent one, They're on a good streak. I forget what the past couple ones have been. I know SummerSlam, obviously, but I'm trying to remember.
Well, yeah. Remember, I was thinking about this because I'm going to make a joke in a second, but it was Money in the Bank in London, which was, a really, really forgettable night, main evented by the Bloodline versus non-Bloodline people, right? Then it was King of the Ring. Then it was, before that, Backlash in France. Remember, AJ Styles, Cody Rhodes. It's been kind of mid as a year goes. But this was a good one, I think. What was the match of the night for you, sir?
It might have to be Gunther Orton, I think. Either that or Owens and Rhodes.
Yeah, Owens and Rhodes. Owens and Rhodes, I think, for me.
Yeah, I think I might be more inclined for that one just because it was a bit quicker,
What was the weakest match of the five match card?
I might have to say the women's tag title just because I'm not too interested and invested, we've seen that. I think that's the one thing I'm consistent with is that if I'm not invested in something, it's gonna be the weakest one. We saw it on All In where I had nothing really to say about the tag match, where I was like, I don't care about any of the teams All In. It's it's not that I don't care about any of the 4 women involved, but it's with the way these tag titles get treated, it's kind of hard to invest yourself in any of the matches,
I agree, and I would also agree with your pick. And I wanted to make the point that if the weakest match in the card was the tag team match, which was pretty good, which was all right, it was a pretty good night.
Yeah.
So I forgot about Clash at the Castle. That was in June in Scotland. So when they're building up to Bad Blood, which is in... Where is Bad Blood going to take place?
Atlanta, I believe.
That makes sense because Cody and Metro Boom have been sitting in a car outside the venue since July, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, I kind of think, why have they been building the Bad Blood for longer than they usually build to these things? And get this, Jack, since WrestleMania, they've pretty much been out of the country. And I thought, I convinced myself, Bad Blood's going to be the first U.S. PLE since WrestleMania because they were in France, they were in Saudi Arabia, they were in Scotland. and then they were in London, and they were in Cincinnati, and then they were in Berlin. They haven't been home in a while. I forgot about Cincinnati.
Well,
Cincinnati, only out of the country.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Are we sure Ohio exists?
Ah, I love the memes that around Halloween where they say, "Check your kid's candy. You never know what's inside," and inside of candy is like the state of Ohio.
But yeah, we're building to Bad Blood. I mean, we're already building to it. We got a month to go, and they're already building towards it. First match that seems like it's gonna happen, which I think is a bit accurate, is Zayn versus Gunther for that world title. They teased that on Raw.
The only man to pin Gunther since coming to WWE proper.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up because then people were gonna claim I'm being a hypocrite because Jack Perry pinned Bryan Danielson and now he's getting a title shot. But that's not my reason for not liking the choice.
It's the scapegoat versus the goat, Jack.
The scapegoat versus the goat. Because, yes, we need to have a champion challenging another champion.
That's my hill I'll die on. But then, just very quickly, Jack, what'd you think of No Mercy?
Oh, No Mercy. I like the opening tag match, especially because tag team wrestling for the most part is pretty barren this year. It's so barren to the point that one of the YouTubers I watched that does awards, he literally was like, I've done it in previous years, but now more than ever, I think I'm going to include whole trios or factions to be my tag team of the year and any like interchangeable one because there's just almost none to choose from.
Yeah, I was thinking of you when I was watching the opener, Chase U versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier because it was so good. It was the former champs challenging for their own title. I thought it was good. I was like, I'm going to tell Jack to watch this if he hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I thought that was good. Like I said, Wesley and Wentz was just a bit awkward for me. I had expectations for the match. I was like, I like these two guys. You know, I'm expecting a pretty fast-paced type of match. And like I said, they were weirdly slow for some reason. What else?
I like the end. I like the finish.
Yeah, the finish was cool. I really liked that one. I was very surprised that Wentz won because, TNA guy winning on their show.
X Division champion.
Yeah.
Gotta make it look strong, brother.
The women's North American was all right,
Yeah.
The women's championship match was all right. Was mainly more invested for the finish, not the finish, but like the aftermath, because a lot of big names that are coming into NXT. Julia does show up.
She did. I'm a big Jada Parker fan. I saw the writing on the wall, but was excited about her. She's I like her as a talker and I like her as a wrestler. Julia appeared, and I thought of you again, Jack, because I don't know. I don't know what is this her character, right? She looked terrified. I don't know what to make of her presentation. It's a little EO Sky, in the body language. I don't know. She looked confident once she was in the ring, getting into the ring. I was worried and wondering.
I think it's definitely going to be an adjustment to the American crowd, obviously, as with any foreign talent, and really any talent at all, having to adjust yourself to a live crowd like that. But yeah, I'm super excited for, her run here. My dad's super excited. My dad's especially super excited because it just means he gets to see more of her. And then the main event was all right. Shenanigans in the finish.
Shenanigans.
But I thought it was all right,
Yeah. Trick Williams stopping that ref count. That was good. That
was the example I was thinking of when I brought up to you about the whole referees having personality was that interaction between him and Trick, you know.
Oh, and I didn't bring up during the Gunther Randy Orton main event that Charles Robinson was the referee, and he gets a shout out by Michael Cole in this Triple H era as a guy who's officiated a number of World Heavyweight Championship matches.
Yeah, that's something.
You love he gets a name. You love they're referencing, hey, this is the guy who's been around and he knows what's going on, and he's probably going to let him be outside for a second longer than most.
Yeah, I would like to see like more of that. Like I know some people are against it, but I would like to see more of like that like being like a story thing where it's like, you know, wrestlers kind of lobby for certain referees to be the ref, you know? Like they want this person to ref their match because they know they're going to be more lenient or because they know this one's more accurate. Like, you know, I'm thinking, you know, sports minded, you know, a lot of people in the baseball world, they're always excited. I mean, it happens all the other sports, but I'm mainly going to baseball for right now. A lot of people usually are more excited when they hear certain umps names because they know that they have their score charts public, so they know which umps are more accurate. Like the one that people always you know, hold in high regard was during 2022 the Phillies and Astros. One of the umps called a literal perfect game where he called every strike a strike, every ball a ball perfectly. So it's like I would like to see something like that come into storyline where a wrestler lobbies for a certain ref because they know they have like a high accuracy type of like you know, or you know how you're mentioning with Charles Robinson, you know, going for a storied referee because they know that they can handle being in this moment in a way, you know.
I know about that sort of phenomenon, Jack, because over the summer, I don't know who it was, but a certain umpire retired who was the exact opposite of that guy, and I saw so much on Instagram about him, and the general consensus being good riddance. It couldn't have happened. Like it was like we're not gonna miss him. It should have happened a long time ago. And I saw clips. I'm like, oh, this guy had a career of this.
Yeah. I mean, it would also make for a funny storyline if we, like, found out about a ref being paid off in storyline to help a heel win or something like that. I think that would be interesting to see. I think...
That would be interesting to see.
Yeah. I know, I think, I don't know if it's both promotions, but I know... I forget which one, if it's AAA or CMLL. I know they, like, have, like, refs that, like, are actually heel or face aligned, you know?
Yeah.
So like I think it's like an interesting concept to like really play around with.
Invasion, Nick Patrick levels of, you know what I mean, like sinister.
Yeah, but yeah, No Mercy, pretty good show. Really liked it. It's making me really think if I like want or like it's making me like really consider getting like back into NXT. But like just like with like a couple of like other promotions that I'm always like interested in like getting into, I'm just like. But I know nothing about like these people, you know, like that's like the biggest thing. Oh. Like when I was doing that tournament review for Noah, I really like kept mentioning, I was like, I know nothing about this roster, so sorry if I like don't like call out something like that's specific to certain wrestlers. Like I know nothing about them. I know nothing of their characteristics. I don't know what their finishers are called. What is their finisher, you know?
I'll tell you what, Jack. I think NXT is hilariously aware of that and will, like a sitcom, tell you everything you need to know to the point where once you learn everything, Jack, you're gonna get sick of it. You're gonna be like, they're you know what they remind me of? That episode of Futurama where Fry writes the opera and the devil with the devil's hands, and the devil says. The writing's so lazy. I can't stand it when a character tells you how they're feeling. That makes me angry. Like I think of Tony D'Angelo. Watch 2 seconds of a segment with Tony D'Angelo, Jack, and you're gonna be like, I get it.
Yeah, I will say that was why you know, I was like, or you know, it's not only just because like. My favorite wrestler went from Stardom to Marigold, but like one of the biggest reasons I was like so interested in Marigold was I was like, this is the first time I'm seeing a new promotion form and being there from the beginning, you know?
Yeah,
wasn't there for the beginning of AEW, wasn't there for the beginning of any of these other promotions that are, I can't tell you how many times older than I am, you know? So it's like, it was
I
fun to
would.
see a new promotion like that start up from the ground. And even if these wrestlers were established in other places, they're new to me where I get to know them from the start, you know?
I'm old enough to have been there for the humble beginnings of WWF. When Vince McMahon and remember that old Sting in the beginning of episodes of Raw and SmackDown when you can hear his voice go, "We've got a great show for you tonight, folks." Right?
Oh,
That I
yeah.
was there. I was there, Jack. I wasn't there.
Oh, man. Uh, yeah, I was there for the start of CML, the oldest promotion, wrestling promotion in the
Mm.
world.
I
But
was
yeah,
there to see Abe Lincoln wrestle. I guess supposedly.
I think my dad was there for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait till he listens to this and gets to
I
that
was
point.
there for Kane versus Abel, the first main event.
But yeah, I thought about, I was like, was way too young for the start of both TNA, Ring of Honor, Noah. You know, like the ones that like formed within like my lifetime. I was like, I was way too young for that. I didn't even know what any of those promotions were.
DNA, I can say for real. I saw them start. I was in college. I was waiting for my dad to pick me up on a Friday afternoon. I was flipping through channels, and on Fox Sports 1, I saw Road Dogg Jesse James for the first time in a long time. And I watched these people like throw each other out of the ring. This is before TNA got like the deal with Spike. And I
Mm.
was like, is this where he wound up? There's a couple of faces I can't remember exactly, but I definitely remember Road Dogg going, there's more.
Yeah, I think my thing of like, oh, there's more was back in like high school was when I like started getting back into it a lot because of you. You know, like you would bring it up on the podcast, and so like I started getting back into WWE, and that's when like I started hearing people online talk about like, oh yeah, this is Kevin Owens who used to wrestle from here and here. Sami Zayn used to wrestle from here and here. Or actually, I think it was in middle school because like I think that's when I first heard of Sami Zayn, and that's when I watched his
Mm.
journey in NXT, and that's when I heard about his time with Ring of Honor. And I can actually tell you the first match, the first ever non WWE match I ever watched. I didn't see it like live, obviously, because it happened like I think a year or two before, because they were both signed with WWE by that point. But the one I went out of my way to find that I know for sure this is the first non WWE match I watched was El Generico versus Kevin Steen, Ring of Honor, the Ladder Wars match where Steen hits him with the package power driver through like two ladders that are like set up bridge. And it was like from there, that's when I just started learning. I'm like, oh, there is other wrestling promotions out there. And then I remember getting back into it in 2020 because you, Ricardo, and I wanted to review WrestleMania. And like, I always remember this right before watching WrestleMania, I heard about Stardom and like I started watching matches of theirs.
Sami Zayn's never wrestled for Ring of Honor.
That's why I never said Sami Zayn. I said El Generico.
Ah. Ah.
But
Good show, Jack.
yeah, good show.
And I will not be watching All Out. I'm going to take the gamble. I'm going to skip that show, and I'll see if, like Full Gear 2022 or 23, if I don't think I missed out something good.
I more than likely will find a way to watch Hangman and Swerve, and that's probably I'm trying to think maybe the Willow and Statlander match. You know, I've really been invested in their rivalry, though I wish they got like more time on the big shows for it. You know, um, I'm trying to think of what else they've booked. Can't think off the top of my head. More than likely won't be watching and covering it. It's just a joke, people, but I want to bring it up because I brought it up to Mr. Solis. They booked Konosuke Takeshita's return match as a 4-way on Rampage, so I am protesting.
Had the strongest G1 climax of recent memory, and they go, it's Collision Friday or Saturday?
Collision is Saturday, Rampage is Fridays.
I got you. And they go Rampage.
Two literal match of the year contenders in that tournament, and they're just like, yeah, he's gonna return on Rampage, and you know, to make everyone feel better, we're gonna run this promo package talking about his G1 on Saturday, and it's like, don't tell me about how important he is. Show me how important he is to you. Book him.
Bad Blood. Cody Rhodes versus Konosuke Takeshita.
Man. But with that all being said, any final thoughts, sir?
No. Thanks for having me as always.
Yeah. My final thought will be, because it'll be probably some time that we see that the audience hears from us until probably Bad Blood. If Sami Zayn and Gunther happens, I'm just excited to see it, obviously, and here's to hoping that stem cell treatment does miracle work and we see the craziest match between Gunther and Sami. Because I'm looking at that and I'm just like, if they do enough, if they don't do the whole Gunther antagonizing Sami's family at ringside, this could end up pretty high up on the list.
Oh no. Now I'm worried about it. My whole exact is gonna be like, where's Mrs. Zayn?
But with that all being said, thank you all for joining for this one, and we'll catch you on the next one.